There we go. We started the recording. Good morning, everybody. If no one is having any difficulties with the Infinity account to be able to upload and publish your lesson 7, then I'm going to move forward with lesson 8, which covers the use of templates. Templates are a way of formalizing the important parts of the basic structure and visual properties of your website, and then be able to create child pages from that. And then when you update the template, it will prompt you and ask you, do you want to update all of the child pages that have been created from it? So it eliminates a lot of tedious revisions page by page, and you just have to do it in the template, and all the pages will change. Another thing that we'll be doing is that when you create templates, you have to create what are called editable regions, because for the child pages, it locks down, for example, the nav bar, it locks down the header. It locks down the footer. Those remain constant from page to page to page. It's only the regions, the left and the right side, and the article, which is your main content, that you will be changing revising and changing the content that you will have access to. So if you want to change the header, if you want to change anything in the navigation bar, you have to go back to the template itself. So how you do that? And it's changed a little bit in the current version. Before, you would have to switch from live view to design view. And when you look at your page in design view, it looks really kind of strange. It removes a lot of the properties that we've added. So I would go to File, and I would say, Save as Template. So anytime you see a feature grayed out, oftentimes you will have to switch to design view. And why that is, I don't know. It's just, it has been for many years one of the quirky things of Dreamweaver. But that has all changed. So what I can do now is I can go to File, and I can select Save as Template. It is not grayed out. And when I do that, we have to name it, okay? And make sure, wait, I'm gonna cancel that for a minute, because I wanna make sure that everybody knows that since we are working on lesson 8, that you need to go to Site, Manage Sites, and now I created a separate site for this, but you need to go in and double click and make sure that your root folder now is linked to lesson 8, okay? And mine is. And then you need to go into Advanced Settings and select Local Info, and then make sure that your image folder is linked to the one that is inside. Let's see if it is. I'm gonna go inside lesson 8, and I'm gonna make sure that it's linked inside the image folder here. Let's see what's inside that image folder. There we go, okay? Because we have a few items that we're gonna add in here. Done, there we go. So I've updated the site information, and then that should be reflected over here. When we have the Files tab selected, you should be able to see that they have, where we left off with lesson 7, we have a My Layout HTML, and that's what you're going to open up. And under Resources, they have some rich text that we're going to add, and that you'll also notice in the image folder that they've added some images that we're going to add over to the right and the right side. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on here. So having said that, now we can go ahead and normally you don't have, for your own personal website, you don't have to update that every time, but for the lessons we do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to File, And I'm going to say save as template. Now, wait a minute. Let me go back again. Let's make sure that I have that. So let's make sure that this is selected again, because it allowed me to do it before, but not yet. So you'll notice that it's grayed out. So in that case, I'm going to go back over to design view. So if you guys happen to see that, now I should be able to save as template. Why it grayed it out, I don't know. That's one of the mysteries that after all these years, I still haven't understood. So now I'm going to save as template. And I'll name it. Let's see what they want it. I don't know if they want us to name it. I'll just name it Green Start template. Green Start. That's all you have to do. And under Save As, not my layout, but it's going to be Green Start. Okay, and right now in this folder, there should be no existing templates, but you can have multiple templates if you wish. And now I can go ahead and I can save. And it asks, do you want to update links? And you're going to say yes. And now you'll notice over to the right in our files panel, we have a new folder, templates. And you'll notice that we have Green Start DWT, which stands for Dreamweaver template. A template is not uploaded to the host. It is strictly a local file. Okay. So now that that's been saved, I can switch from design view and go back to live view for a moment. And when I go in here, if I were to create a brand new child page from this, so I'm going to select new page and just leave it untitled. And I want it from templates. And what I want now, you'll notice right now under here, I have a Green Start template that's been created. Now in my web, my Dreamweaver, I have a bunch of other sites that I am managing. So don't pay attention to those. I'm going to go ahead and select new. So here's my new child page. Okay. And now you'll notice if I try to edit in here, let's see if it will allow me to edit. And I can't. Everything is grayed out. Notice that instead of blue, it's this gray. And that's because by default, everything, I can't come in here and I can't select even the text. And I can select that, but I can't delete it or anything, it's locked. So what that means is that we have to go back into the template now, and we have to create some editable regions. So typically, you only create editable regions for the areas that you plan on changing the content. And again, the navigation remains locked, the header remains locked, and the footer remains locked. And if you do need to make changes to them, you simply go back to the template and make changes. And then when you update, it should automatically, or it should prompt you to say, do you want to make changes to all of the child pages that have been created from that template? And the pages do not have to be open for that change to take place. So what I need to do now is I need to go back to the template, and we're going to create our editable regions. Okay, so I'm going to start with the left side, and I'll just select in here. I don't want the body, but I'm going to use the tag selector down here, and I'm going to select the left side. Okay, and now what I want to do, and let's see if it allows me to do it, I may have to go back to the design view again, but I want to insert, and I'm going to go to template, and you'll notice it's all grayed out. Why? I don't know. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to switch from live view to design view. There we go. And again, make sure that I have the left side selected and the tag selector. And now I should be able to go up to insert And I'm going to go down to, come on, can't control my mouse, template, and I want to insert an editable region. And I'm just going to name it left aside. Whoops. Okay, and I'll click OK. And as soon as I do, you'll notice a little blue tab that appears to the left. And that's the left aside. So likewise, I'll put the cursor inside the main content in here, which is the article. And down here at the bottom, under the tag selector, I'm going to make sure that it is selected. Okay, so that the whole article is selected. Make that an editable region, and I'll repeat what I did for the left aside. And I'll just call it main content. Okay, so I'm going to insert template, and I want editable region, and that pops up, and we'll just name it main content. Okay, now you can follow the textbook and name it what they name it, or whatever is comfortable for you. Doesn't really matter. And now I can go back here and we'll select the right aside. So I'm clicking inside the right aside and make sure that the right aside is selected now. There we go. And repeat it one more time. So insert, and I'm going to go to template, and I'm going to say that I want to create an editable region, and I'll just name it right aside. Okay. And now I need to save everything. So let me go back from design view to live view. And I'm just going to go ahead and just say file, save all. Okay. Now, if I go back to the page that has not been saved yet, I go back here to the child page, you'll notice that these editable regions in orange pop up. So now I can make changes. I can edit them. Okay, I can add content, I can do what I want with them. But again, the regions in the nav and the header and in the footer remain locked. So we're ready to do a few things here. We're going to change some metadata in here. One of the things that I had wanted to do the other day, but didn't, and so I'm going to go back to the template, is I'm going to start by naming the page itself. So what I can do here, let's do it under here. And what I should be able to do is if I go into the header here, let's see, you'll notice that one of the regions in, not the header, the head of the document, you'll notice that one of the regions here that I can change is the title of the page. And at present, and that's separate from the file name. The title of the page is what appears in a tab in a browser. So what we're going to do is that this is going to be named About. So what I would recommend that you do is I would, whatever the name of your website is, or if there's something really specific, rather than just name it home page or about page or something like that, because search engines use the titles a lot for determining searches that you make. So I'm going to name this Green Start About. And that's how I've done mine. And I think you'll find with your own personal website that it will come up a little bit higher in the search when you use things like that. If you just use homepage, there are millions and millions and millions of home pages, and it won't mean anything. It won't bring your search up to the top. So I'm going to name this one Green Start. And kind of a hyphen here, and I'll put About Page. This is going to be our About page. Okay. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to save this. And I'm going to, before I do anything else, File, Save As, and I'm going to name it About. So this will be our About page. okay? And remember, when you name pages, follow the structure, the syntax that I talked about the first week of class. I'm not starting it with a capital letter. If you want to use multiple names, make sure that you use an underscore or camel casing, no special characters, things like that. And it should be saved automatically inside your root folder. So there we go, it's all saved. There's a couple of other things that you may or may not want to add to your website when you, some metadata here that if you want, and that could be keywords and what else we have here? We could also have under, let's see, insert, and I'm going to put HTML, and you could use a description. And that too, descriptions happen when you do a search and it finds your website, that the description is what will pop up first. If you do not have a description, it will take the first block of text that is on that index page, and it will use it as a description. Okay, so let's start with keywords though, and they haven't become as important lately as they have in the past, but they were also used in searches, and it's recommended that you only use 25. But in the past, you know, for any of you who are, when you start creating your own website, I would put your name in there. So if I put in Kirk Miller, I could also put in Kirk B. Miller, you know, that's my middle initial. I could put in Kirk Brian Miller. So if people put in any of those words, it would aid in assisting the search engine to find me. Other keywords that maybe I could use would be instructor, web design instructor, and on and on and on. And you should have maybe like 25 or so. And when you do that, and you come back up to the head of your document here, let's go down and we'll find it. Where are we here? No. There's the keywords right here under the meta name. So before it hits the rest of the HTML, search engines will use that. Another thing that you can do, as I said, is we can insert a description. So I'm going to insert HTML, and I'm going to come down here, description. I'll say this website is used to teach basic web design. So for search engines, that would be the first bit of text that would pop up. And when I put that in here, you'll also notice that we have here description. Okay, so there we have that. So we've added a title to the page. We've added some meta tags, and we're set to go. And I should probably, save. Now, notice that those things are not added to the template. They would not be added. So if I switch back here, even though it's added in non-editable regions, which are the head, it will enable you to do that. It will allow you to change that. So if I scroll back up to the head, not header, but head of the document, I should have access to it. There's a template. There we go. So here's our meta. Okay. There's the main content. There's the name. And what else do we have here? No, that was different. So let me scroll down here. Come on, come on, come on. Did it add it or not? It should be in here. That's where it's added in the head of the document. And I don't see it offhand. It is in here. Oh, what am I saying? You don't find any of this because I'm back in the template. As I said, you wouldn't find it in there. So I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing here. So let's go ahead and let's start to add some content here. So we produced our child page. And I guess they want this to be named About Us. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and save this again. But I can leave it About, but it should be About Us. And if you look carefully at the text, you'll notice that they do use the underscore system. So I'm going to save as. Now it'll be close to what the textbook does. I'll just use the same thing that they do, but I prefer camel facing. And now you'll notice that I have 2 pages in here. I have About and About Us. And later on, I can go ahead and I can delete this from my root folder. Okay. So let's start by adding our headline here. And you can see that we have, this is the editable region. So when I click in there and it goes orange, I can highlight the header. And we can put About Meridian Green Star. Oops. Okay. And then we have our subheading that they want us to put. So I'll highlight the subheading. So what we're going to be doing for the most part here until we get to the asides and add some special styles that govern how they look, especially the right aside, is that I'm just kind of copying and pasting. So except for the headlines. So I'm going to use Green Star here. Green awareness in action. Okay, so now we're ready to add some more content here. Now, you can either add it here or we can add it in the code view. But before I can do that, I need to look at the resources, and I'm going to go ahead in a text program. I'm just going to double click to open up the text edit here. And this is what I have, it's default on my Macintosh. So I'm going to go ahead and hide it and select it all and copy it. And I'm going to come back and inside here, I'm going to go ahead and paste. Okay. Now, problem that we have here, and this is what I don't like about this, and I do this, make mistakes all the time here, is that you'll notice that even though it's rich text format, it did not bring in the paragraph breaks. It just brought it in as one big paragraph. So I'm going to undo that and undo that again. Come on. Okay. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to try instead here is I'm going to click in here. I'm going to highlight, insert here. And in the code view, I'm going to try to insert it and see what I get here. And see, it does the same thing. So if I wanted to, I'd have to come in here, and if I do it by hand, I would have to put in my own paragraph breaks. And I know I'm not doing it right, but typically, let's go ahead and take this paragraph out, or just after this one, I'm going to go ahead and hit return and have a new paragraph and then paste and see what we get. See if that doesn't help me. And that doesn't help me at all, not at all. And I don't know whether it's 2 paragraphs or 1. I think where it says in most cases, this would be a new paragraph. So if I hit the return key here, now I have a new paragraph. And there's probably multiple paragraphs that I need to take into consideration, and I can need to come back here and just here to get rid of this whole paragraph. And I'm going to do that from code view. Okay. Now we also have some quotes here. So I may have included those quotes in here. That what I need to do is, oh, we need to open up sidebar. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and they've included the file here. It says sidebar 8 HTML. So if I double click on that, open it up, you'll notice that we have some images and we have some quotes that we want here. So I'm going to select inside here. I want to select the entire block quote. So if I select the beginning here, let's click in here. And if I look down at the bottom here, let's select the whole block quote. There we go, including the cite tag and the closing tag for the block quote. And then if I go ahead and I select Command C, copy, and I go back to my original page here. And now what I want to do is I want to come back over here and click where the quote is. And where I have the entire block quote selected here, I can, the opening and closing tag, I can now delete that and I can paste the other one. And you'll notice that it has the quote now from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay, so that's put that in there as a block quote using what we have used. Okay. So there we go. Now what they want us to do is to insert, if I remember correctly, let's see what we go here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to insert into the right side, we're going to insert some images in here. So let's go back to the aside again. And I'm going to select this image. And then, so I have a figure. And I don't know that I want to include the entire section, but I'm going to go ahead and take the whole figure. Let me go ahead and select the whole section, and I can always remove it. Let's see, we have multiple figures here. So I'm going to take all of these sections here. There we go. So this will be our side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go back to the About page again. And I'm going to come back in here. And let's see where in the code view, it's easier if I just paste it inside the code view. So inside the aside, I'm going to take, and I'm going to highlight from the H2 to the P tag, but within the aside tag, and I'm going to paste. And you can see that I've, added images and I've added descriptions, but they don't look so hot. We want the images to be centered. We want the descriptions to be formatted properly inside here. So now what I need to do is we need to start formatting these editable regions. So now I need to switch from files to CSS Designer. Okay, and I want to come back in here and I want to add to my green styles. And we're going to start by adjusting the figures. And it is a good idea that I use the section in here to make sure that that works. So we want to make sure that we have one for dot sidebar 2, and it's going to be section figure image. So let's go ahead and add a section or add a selector here. So I'll just select one image in here to be able to do that. And then all of them will be formatted. So what I want here is I want dot sidebar 2 so that it only affects the right side. Dot sidebar 2. section, figure, image, and hit the return key twice. Okay. Select it, and it highlights. That's a good sign. So we're ready to adjust the margins. So I'm going to come over to here, and I'm going to go down to margin, and we're going to use shorthand. So top and bottom, we want 0 pixels. And then to the right, we want auto. So I'm going to use auto, left and right. And I'm going to go ahead and hit tab and see what we get. And I get nothing. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to use display block. And that shifts them all over. That's the last thing that you have to do. Okay. So there we go. So we have our images fixed. The next thing that we want to do is we want to adjust our captions for all of these. And this is one thing that I know that from a designer's perspective that really kind of infuriates me, is that by default, the text will fit the whatever div it's in from side to side without any spacing in between. And that's where you need to add padding and or margins. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to add margins to this so that it actually condenses the text a little bit and allows a little bit of space around the side, so it makes it easier to read. So what we're going to do is something very similar to what we did here. We need a new dot sidebar 2 section, but now we're going to put fig caption, and that's what we're going to have here. So we're going to go ahead and here. I didn't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this one because I didn't want that. I'm going to select in here, make sure that the caption is selected. That would be helpful for us. Now I'll go ahead and I'll add. There we go. So it already knows that it's section, figure, fig caption, but I need to remember to put before that dot sidebar 2. So there we go. Dot sidebar 2. Hit the return key twice. Click off of it. Now I've got it. It should highlight. Nope, it doesn't because I don't have a space there. I need to put a space between 2 and section. The return key twice. Off. Now let's select it. There you go. Now it's highlighting. Now I'm in good shape. So now what I want to do is, again, I want to change margins here. But this is going to be a little bit different. We want, along the top, we want 5 pixels. That pushes it down a little bit. And then we're going to use, to the right, we're going to use 10 pixels. And that's probably the minimum that you want, left and right. 10 pixels. And let's go down here. Bottom, 15 pixels. That's a good amount. And then we go back to the top or to the left. I'm sorry, the right, the left, and I want 10 pixels again. Let's see if that works. And it didn't work. So I've done something wrong here. So I need to go back and make sure that I have everything spelled right. So I have dot sidebar 2, and I have section. I don't have figures spelled right, or do I? Figure. F-I-G-U-R-E, I do. And fig caption. So that should be, fig caption should be right. So that's what that's named. So why isn't it affecting it? So here's another area that we need to look at to make sure that everything is working right. When in doubt, I'm going to go ahead and just delete it, delete the whole thing. And let's come back again. So if I select this one and I come back here and I select that. So if I select the caption, the fig caption, make sure that that's selected, and I go ahead and I add with green, make sure that green style is selected, and I select here. There we go. Let's try again. So that, you know, it could be a misspelling. I don't know. So dot sidebar 2 space. There you go. Now it's highlighting. Why? I don't know what I did wrong before. So I could use the shorthand, or I could come back in here again. We want a little bit of space along the top. So 5 pixels. There you go. Now it's working. So 10 pixels left and right. And you can use shorthand, it doesn't matter. And then I want 15 along the bottom. And you'll notice that it's changing a little bit every time I make a change. And I'm hitting the tab key as I do this. So 15, there you go. Notice how it's opening up, and then I add 10 pixels to the left. There you go. So now when I click off of it, you'll notice that we have a little bit of spacing. It's a little bit closer to the image, which is nice. I would probably use a little bit more than 10 pixels for the left and right side, or the margins. I like a little bit more space myself, but I'm going to follow the textbook. And then I would need to go back again, and I would need to find out where my paragraph breaks are and go ahead and add those paragraph breaks. Now, the last thing that we have to do is to save. So I'm going to go File and select Save All. And the reason I'm saving all is because we made changes to our style sheet. Make sure that all of that is changed. Now, what if I wanted to change something in the header? Okay, and I could actually close this. Now let's close sidebar 2, because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to close about, because that is wrong. But let's go back here to Green Start, our template. So what if I wanted, instead of home, I wanted Green Start Home? Something like that. I don't know. So Green Start Home. And notice that that needs to be fixed. So how would you change this? Anybody have any ideas? We would have to go all the way back. So we go back, and I don't want all sources, I want green styles. And I would have to go back here, and let's look at where we specified the, I don't want that, row nav bar. Let's check. There we go. It was .row, .nav, nav bar, nav. That's where we specified the width of the navigation. So notice that by adding that text, to Green Start Home, it dropped down. The last button dropped down. So what I would need to do is increase the size of that just a little bit until it fit. Okay. Now let's go ahead and save all. So we can go ahead and say save all. Okay, and it's going to prompt me. Now I created 2 pages based on this template. And remember, I closed the About page and I left the About Us open. And it wants me to know, do I want to update them? Yes, I do. So I click OK. Okay, now we can close. And then watch, when I go back to About Us, you'll notice that Green Start Home has been changed. So that's the advantage to working with templates, that right now I only have one child page that I've created from this. But in fact, if I had 100 pages, they would all be updated automatically. Okay? But that could also be, if you make a mistake, that you just screwed up 100 pages. What it can't do, though, is that if you'll notice that when I go back to the template, that all the changes that I made to the editable regions, the template is unaffected by it, which is what you want. Okay, so you only add content to the editable regions, the area that that you will be changing from page to page. The areas or the regions that you want left untouched to be constant from page to page to page. And I think that's a part of, I guess I'll call it good design, that you want consistency, just so that the end user is not confused. And so when they're on your website, they know, in fact, on each page that the navigation remains constant, the header remains constant, and that the styles in general remain constant. So they know I am still here. Because remember, in a later lesson, when we start adding external links, we can go to, let's say, maybe you want a Google map on your page. Well, that would be an external link. That when you click on that link and maybe it opens up in a new tab, that it is a reminder to the viewer that they're no longer on your website, that they're someplace else. Not all of the links that you will have on your website remain internal. Some will be external. So let me go ahead and pull this and make it a little bit wider. You can see that all of green starts there. So the only thing left for me to do is to come back in here and find out where these paragraph breaks are, but I'm not going to do that here in class. So that's a short lesson, but then starting next week, and then we'll start lesson 9 on, and it's a multi-part lesson. We will start it on Thursday, but Tuesday I want you to have MobiRise downloaded if you haven't already done that. Remember, I said that you can get the free version. And then I'm going to get you started with your second website. You already, should have completed or close to completing your Wix website. And maybe actually next week we'll just, I'll get you started. Let me think about this. I'm kind of thinking aloud here. That we won't start lesson 9 at all next week. We'll start it the following week. But next week, what we'll do is we'll have a critique of your Wix websites. And then we'll do that on one day. And then on another day, I will show you how to get started with MobiRise. Okay. And, that's a WYSIWYG drag and drop website that if you have all of your content prepared in advance, and my suggestion is that, go ahead and use all of the content that you used for your Wix website, all of the images. If you have paragraphs prepared for your about or your resume or anything like that, go ahead and use all of those. Okay, they're just using a different program in order to develop the website. And you'll see how easy it is to use. It really is. For a quick and dirty website, I think they do a superb job. And for a little bit of extra money, you can buy additional templates. So if somebody hires you to say, we have a restaurant, we want you to design a website for us, and we only have a few days and we don't have much money, that would be my go-to. Yes, question was that what are we doing next week? I think, well, right now we're just finishing up lesson 8. And before we start lesson 9, next week, we will have a critique of Wix websites that have been turned in. And then I will also start you on MobiRise, get you started with that, so that you can begin your second website. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. If there aren't any more questions, before you guys leave, if you would please wait for a minute. I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to go ahead and take roll to see who's here. And so, okie doke. So I've taken roll. Again, are there any questions for today? This is kind of a short, easy lesson. We're kind of set to go. Okay. We're ready for the next stage of different ways of adding content. And that's what lesson 9 does. You know, from adding tables to adding unordered lists and a variety of different things. And then lesson 10 is actually goes back to lessons. Yeah, Dan, question?
Yeah, so on the files, where you name your site to index and stuff, if it says my layout, can you rename that?
You can, yes. I wouldn't. I would leave it alone.
Okay.
Is there a reason for my doing that? No. It just, I guess, if I make changes to one or the other, it's kind of a backup. So if I need to go back to a file for any reason, I have a duplicate.
I'm just
so instead of my layout, you can, for example, if this is this about us.html, if I wanted that to be the first page that loads, I would have to rename that index.html.
Okay.
Now, in the title of the page, it could be about us, because that's separate from the file name.
Okay.
But yeah,
so,
you can go in and rename it. Or I just do a save as and save it as a separate file. And then if I want to, I'll delete an older version.
Okay, so the index.html, that's always the first page that loads.
Yep, and you only have one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, you always only have one index.html. So whatever page you want to be the first page on your website to load, and that will be the index.html. And typically it's called your home page or splash page or something like that. But the file name is always index.html.
All right, well, that's it for me.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. I got a couple of questions here. So what do we have here? For your, okay, to answer David. Oh, okay. So what do you put in the about page or your about page? This is for your Wix website, I presume, or later for MobiRise. About you. If this website is about you, I always, use my websites as a guide. If you're an artist, you're a graphic designer, since I consider myself a fine artist, I will give a little paragraph about myself and my work experience and my experience as an artist. And I will also put in the about page my artist statement. I mean, I can put that, but for you, it could be just, you're a student at Cerritos College and you're learning graphic design and you're taking a class in web design and things like that. If the website is about something else, if it's about your pet, Last semester, I had a student who, her family not collects, they rescue stray dogs and they save them. So she had a little bit about that, and that was what all of her websites were about. So that's what we did there. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you need your artwork on the portfolio page, contact, and about. If you have a resume, that would be great. Most students don't have a detailed resume, but that's something later on. If you plan on using this website for yourself after the class is over, that's something that you're going to have to consider doing. Does that help, David? Okay. Okay, then I guess we are done for today. So everybody is free to go, and I hope you have a good weekend. And I'll look over your websites, your websites, and those that have turned in and emailed me the link to your URL for lesson 7. I will give you credit for those. Okay. And the lessons are a pretty good chunk of your grade. So yeah, make sure that you turn them in. Okay. Okie doke. Well then, goodbye everybody. Said have a good weekend, and I will pause the recording, and that will be it. We'll be done for today. Bye-bye.